Hey guys, welcome back as always. My name is Laser, and today we're gonna do something slightly different. We're gonna speculate, fabricate of what an endgame would look like in Warframe. And of course, I will be needing your help because I'm only one man and one tiny imagination, and I know you guys got some fantastic ideas. But first things first. We know we're getting the new war, the old war this year. Theoretically speaking, now the developer did promise 2021, but I'm the type of guy that I'll believe it when I see it. What would you do for an endgame on Warframe? Let's explore a couple of options. Let's say you like the Steel Path approach. You like the Steel Path approach, but of course, you would do things differently, wouldn't you? Let's say you're the guy. No, I'm serious right now. You are the guy. You got the resources, you got the decision power, you're the man that decides what happens next with Warframe. What would you do? You like Steel Path, but of course the execution to Steel Path is a little bit lackluster. Now you wouldn't do what has been done before. You wouldn't just make bullet sponge enemies, would you? You wouldn't use the exact same missions with the exact same enemies and just add on more health, shield and armor, would you? No, here's what you would do. You would make brand new enemies for not Steel Path, let's call it Skill Path. You would make brand new enemies, wouldn't you? With brand new interesting mechanics to overcome by the players so they can learn and adapt to the new situations. And at the end of it, you will reward the player with something somewhat meaningful. Let's say one of your players finishes one planet in Skill Path. What would you reward them with? What would be the incentive to go out and face those new enemies? Of course, rationally speaking, if you're a veteran in Warframe, just having new enemies to fight with new mechanics and all whatnot would be incentive enough, wouldn't it? At least for me, it would be. But let's say at the end of Planet Earth you conquered Earth, you're gonna get yourself this nice big old Grenier skull with an axe through it or something like that. And it can have different, D likes to do the whole bronze, silver, gold thing, and it can have different qualities to it depending on how fast you finish that specific planet or how fast you have your total time of clear. And that can give rise to brand new meta setups, right? Because sure you can clear Steel Path, or Skill Path in this case, but how fast can you actually do it? That would be something worthwhile. From my point of view, a game mode like that would not necessarily be, but smell more like an actual endgame. Now here's what I would do. I know. I'm very partial to raids, and I feel like I should explain why that is. Some of my best memories in gaming come from World of Warcraft, and before you throw your rotten tomato at me and I need to duck, please put it down and give me a minute to explain. This was back during the Burning Crusade time and the Wrath of the Lich King. During those times, the raids from my point of view were absolutely amazing. Going to the Black Temple to fight Illidan, going to Icecrown Citadel to fight Arthas. Oh my god, I made so many friends back then. We spent hours upon hours, hundreds, even thousands of hours wiping on hard mode bosses. I'm talking about the same individuals coming in day after day, wipe after wipe after wipe, essentially doing the same thing just to get a couple of extra percentages down on the boss. We were actually calculating how many hundreds or thousands of HP we got extra each and every single try. It was somewhat of a humbling and fantastic experience at the same time. It's hard for me to describe to you the feeling we got, the satisfaction, the immense release you would get when one of these hard mode bosses would finally be down. The screams on Ventrilo, well, the screams, the sounds people made, it was truly amazing. And back then we didn't have Discord, right? We didn't have Discord, we had Ventrilo and TeamSpeak. These were legitimately hard bosses. You needed to learn the mechanics, you needed to execute them correctly. Your DPS couldn't sleep in missions like you do in Warframe. You legitimately had to know exactly what you were doing, and you had to be on the ball every single time. My friends, I have so many fond memories of that time. It was truly special. At least to me. What followed afterwards with World of Warcraft is not important, but until Wrath of the Lich King, the raids at the very least to me were absolutely insane and I loved it. Now it's true, Warframe did try in the past to introduce raids, and we did have raids. Now those raids were, well, Should we even bring that up? We're not gonna bring that up all that much. Digital Extreme saw fit to cancel or remove those raids from Warframe. Now, the reason why, there's a lot of reasons. Some people say that they couldn't balance the raids, which was true. Other people say that they were not particularly fun or enjoyable, which, from what I understand from some veteran players that played back then, opinions are a bit divided here, right? Some say that it was not fun, others say that it was fun. Apparently, it was pretty hard to get a raid off the ground, so the developer ended up scrapping that whole project. And right after that we got Eidolons with Arcanes and all whatnot, because initially Arcanes were obtained from those raids. Now, how would raids look like in a 2021 Sentient Homeland version? Oh my god. Dude, that would be amazing. Here's what I would do. Yes, I'm very subjective. Here's what I would do. I would introduce the Sentient Homeworld with a couple of dungeons. And when I say dungeon, I mean mid-level difficulty, easy reward mode. And you would have to do them in 4 players or solo. Yes, I know there's a lot of solo players out there, and I respect that. You can do the dungeons solo as well, and the difficulty will be adapting to it. Of course, if you do it in multiplayer, you need to have some additional benefits, right? And maybe the difficulty bumped up as well. Now, of course, as mentioned before, these need to be not bullet sponge enemies that just sit there and take it. We need mechanics, right? We need actual fun gimmicks that make us learn the fight, adapt to it, learn how to execute it, bring up the attacks, and then finally down these bosses. Let me give you a quick example. You need to wall latch while shooting that guy's left foot so he gets off balance, and then you activate the trapdoor, which brings out the lava and does stuff. Something like that, especially considering that, my friends, this is Warframe, and Warframe has an absolutely outstanding parkour system. We don't only got walking on the ground and shooting like any of those old shooters, we got the air as well. We can wall latch, we can dodge mid-air, because why the hell not? Warframe has amazing possibilities because of its verticality to come up with outstanding boss mechanics. So these dungeons, right, you would have 3-4 bosses, 3-4 little bosses that nobody heard about, something buried deep in the lore, some sentient goo and gaga, and at the end of the dungeon, you can have a bigger boss. Like, for example, you can fight Ballas, right, and after you defeat Ballas, you can get Ballas's necklace of virility or something, I don't know, man, alright, so you can put it and showcase it on your armor. On the lower difficulty, right, to incentivize players, on the lower difficulty of these dungeons, you could have rewards even such as Warframes, right, the brand new Zulaga Warframe that does sentient things, for example, right, you can have it at the lower difficulty, so you make it accessible to essentially everybody. And at the higher tiers of difficulty, right, you can select the difficulty before going in, you gotta have a prerequisite, you gotta, in order to do the hard mode, you gotta do the normal one first, right, and learn the mechanics. At the harder difficulties, not only would you have additional mechanics, not just health bars, yes, dear developer, in case you're listening, you'd also have special rewards along the lines of cosmetics, right? I wouldn't hide power behind the highest difficulty. No, behind the highest difficulty, I would put cosmetic upgrades, such as a fantastic Siandana. How about some armor pieces? How about an ephemera? Warframe has a ton of options when it comes to cosmetics. Maybe even a cool sigil that you can proudly display on your chest to say, hey, you know what? I did that dungeon hard mode. Check it out, check it out. That would be fantastic. I would have 3 or 4 of these dungeons, and then they would be culminating in a final raid when you would have 3 big lore bosses. You would have like Era, and the final boss would be something like Mama. Mama, I'm coming for you, if you know what I mean. And of course, these can be tied into the lore. As soon as you finish a part, right, you finish a dungeon, you get a little bit of lore of what's going on with the Sentient Homeworld, why are things like this, how was the fight against the Orokin, hey, you can have an ancient underwater dungeon with Orokins which are still alive and all whatnot. That'd be fantastic, man, check it out. You can even think of something there spying on the Sentient Homeworld, the Orokin are still fine, you know, that would give rise to a whole new chapter of lore. Now, of course, that's for the guys that write the lore and know what they're doing, not necessarily me. I'm just throwing ideas out there. That's how an endgame would look in Warframe, at least to me, that's what I would like. Now, of course, I think that a steel path approach is a lot more doable for Warframe, excuse me, skill path, not steel path, because the current recipe, at least from my humble point of view, is disappointing to say the absolute very least. Now, of course, as mentioned before, I'm only one person and one tiny imagination. What about you guys? I'm legitimately curious to see what you're gonna put down in the comment section down below. What kind of ideas do you have? How would you model and sculpt an endgame for Warframe? Think about it like this. You have the decision power and you have the resources to do it. What would you do? And I think, my friends, that's pretty much it for today. As always, my name is Lazar. I'm gonna thank you guys so much for listening to me ramble on for, oh my god, has it been 10 minutes? For 10 minutes! And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!